Hello everyone, Tevin Townsend here to talk about why your degree is probably worthless. Now don't get me wrong, I believe in education. I believe in self-education. I don't believe that education is something that has to come from a third-party institution or these institutions that claim to give your education merit. You have to think about it. What was considered an expert, or who was considered an expert way back in the day before we had these institutions with the exclusive authority to grant your degree merit? We had doctors, we had lawyers, we had philosophers, all kinds of people way back before we had this network of accreditation. They didn't have to have degrees. They were practitioners. The neighborhood doctor, the village doctor, right? Didn't need a degree. He was a practitioner. So you have to understand that this advent of what I'm going to tell you is commodified expertise is something relatively new, and it isn't the all be all. I got some notes here. I wanted to start out with why people think they need a degree. You only need a degree because we live in a world where employers want people with degrees. That's what gives your a degree value. Not too long ago, you could get a high school diploma and get around just fine, right? I mean, my mom talks about it all the time. Now, instead of a high school diploma, they want that plus a degree, then plus experience. So you can go to college for 4 years. Say it's even worse. You go to college for 8 years and you become a doctor. Well, it's going to be kind of hard because a lot of people want a doctor with experience. I mean, you've got the degree, you went to Harvard, lots of great grades, but how many successful operations have you done? Let's talk about a lawyer. That's all good on paper, but how many cases have you won? Someone said the graphic design degree is one of the worst degrees you can get because people that are hiring you in that field don't really care about your degree, they care about your portfolio, right? So it's all about your track record, it's all about experience. And that's what a lot of companies are starting to realize, and I've been able to navigate the world pretty well using experience and figuring out how to get around that degree system. Those requirements are just there mostly because we're operating on this old principle that really shouldn't continue to exist. It just looks good. You have a degree, okay, great. And I've worked with all kinds of people that have degrees that have nothing to do with the job they were doing. Believe me. So let's talk about the commodification of the degree. You could say education is about learning. It's about teaching you how to survive in life. It doesn't really teach you much about the real world. You have to understand there's a lot of junk knowledge. We go to school, we learn about business, economics, all kinds of stuff that has nothing to do with the basics in life. How do you run a business? How do you start a business? How do you plant a garden? The real education isn't in schools, and it's like that for a reason. It's all designed for you to be an employee. And before I get ahead of myself, as far as the commodification, when I was in school, I just wanted to learn. I didn't care about the money because I love to learn, and I still learn now, except I do it through self-education because with the internet and all the books you can read, all the knowledge is out there. You can just teach yourself. You don't have to go to school. The only difference is they claim to have the exclusive right to grant your degree and your education merit. And these businesses want to see that merit from those institutions. And this is what's so sad about having a degree and working for honors and A's and B's and being so individualistic. which is that employers sift through your applications, your resume, and they don't care about who you are, what your personality is, right? They don't care about how trustworthy you are, because that's not on your application. Your application doesn't really tell them how good you are at your job. They want to know, between you and this other applicant, whether your degree is from Harvard and his degree is from somewhere they never heard of. It's so sad that most jobs these days you have to apply for online. I guess I grew up in that age. I mean, I remember when I used to go apply on paper in store. I did that back when I was 16, 17. Nowadays it's all online, it's completely automated. And it reminds me of insurance, because I've sold insurance, and you pitch one thing over the phone. You pitch the quality of the company and the types of quality customers we're looking for, but on the back end of things, all you're doing is just saying, okay, they got good credit, they've never filed a claim, great, because it tells you that they're a good business risk and that they are able to pay. So that's kind of how employment works these days. You know, they're not really interested in you as a person. They're just looking at numbers on a system. They're looking at risks. They're looking at all these other attachments. And so you have to think of college as an investment, because really, let's say you go to college for 4 years. I don't know what the average price is, but $40,000, $50,000. Say you go to school for a master's or for doctors, you could pay in excess of $100,000. It's an investment. That's like buying a house. And I went to school just as someone wanting to learn. I didn't think about it as an investment. But when you're spending that kind of money, it's an investment. And the only thing that makes sense is to go to the best school, because a Harvard degree, when you look at it as a commodity, is going to be worth much more than a degree from another school. Even though you put in the same quality work, the same effort, even though you're the same person, just the fact, right, that it's from this institution grants it more value. These are the kinds of things that people have got to realize. And it's so sad that we have people with PhDs, we have people with master's degrees, all of this education, and the only thing they'll amount to is being an employee and being a slave to the system, because that's how it's set up. Some of these people couldn't even go outside and grow their own garden or fetch their own food. They don't know the basics. It's a lot of junk knowledge, and college, to a large degree, should be considered a scam. You know, there are all these entrepreneurial programs you could buy for, I don't know, a few $1,000s and try to get rich, but how much are you paying in college to be successful, right? You could be paying $50,000 or $100,000, and people do it all the time, and they don't bat an eye when they get out and they can't find a job, or they're way in debt. People that go to Harvard to get business degrees, they should be coming out and starting businesses. But why aren't they starting businesses? What did you go to Harvard for? People that go get a degree in computer engineering at the best school for computer engineering, they come out, and instead of starting their own app or creating a website or doing their own software company, they go work for someone else. So what is all this junk knowledge you're learning? And you'll realize that these 2-year institutions or these trade-specific colleges are starting to become more mainstream because it makes sense. They're starting to uncover the faults of the education system we're in, because it doesn't take so many years and so many classes to learn a specific trade. And what colleges do to justify it is they say, well, we want you to be well versed in everything. We want you to be broadly educated. And trust me, people are anything but broadly educated. So you're taking all these extra courses, which is costing you a lot of extra money. And like I mentioned, people that have degrees, they end up doing a lot of jobs that have nothing to do with their degrees. And college is a business. People like to think of it as Well, people like to think of the colleges as doing them a favor, really having their interests at heart. People like to think of the government as being the same. But let's start with the textbook companies. They come out with a new book every year, and then the colleges require you to buy that new book every year, and they're insanely expensive. Tuition goes up every year. The price of college education in America is ridiculous. And these colleges are making all kinds of money on sports. Never any academic competitions. It's sports. I could go on and on. Well, where's the focus on education? It's a business. That's what I'm trying to get you guys to see. Even the government that loans you money is all about making money. And they'll tell you it's all about providing everyone an opportunity, but it puts you in slavery. And here's something that's real easy to look up. The U.S. government's second biggest source of income is student loans. These people who are 18 and are just starting out, they're not business smart, they're not investors, they're just looking to get an education. And the government says, here, yeah, we'll loan you this money. Yet they won't let a credit card company appear on a college campus, right? But I think when you look at the amount of money the government makes on these young people trying to go to college, it's probably in the trillions, because we're talking about the U.S. government and the amount of money they get from the taxpayers and the citizens, and this is supposed to be like the second or third biggest source of income. It's a lot of money. So that's why they'll always keep blowing money, because they're making a lot of money back on it. It's a business. So I'm about at the end here. I just want to get you guys to see that self-education is really what's important. I'm good at law. I'm good at search engine marketing. I know a lot about the internet just because I grew up in this age, but I've also done things like that professionally. And take Mark Zuckerberg, for example, who dropped out of college, built Facebook. No degree, and he's got all the computer engineers working for him. Bill Gates, who you could say created Microsoft, but it's arguable that he stole it from someone else. Same thing, no degree, and the people with the degrees end up working for them. So that's something I learned from a book. It was either The Millionaire Mind or one of Robert Kiyosaki's books. It's a mindset. And these people with degrees that are supposed to be so smart end up not being so smart because they're caught up in that system, or they don't know how to use their skills. They don't know how to use their talent to their full ability because they know nothing about business. They know nothing about really educating themselves outside of that limited education the system will give you. So with that, you guys have a great day.